I call David Clendon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd just like to begin in the spirit of goodwill engendered by my colleague Jan Logie. And in that spirit, I've tried very hard to find something good to say about this bill. It hasn't been easy, but I have managed it. This bill does identify a problem. That is its one redeeming feature. We do have a problem with non-compliance with community work orders. However, this bill is so far from being a solution that it cannot even see it over the horizon. Sadly, it has identified a problem and come up with utterly the wrong response to that problem. I'd pose a question. There's some irony in the fact that we're talking about giving corrections and authority to withhold payments from people, withhold from them their means of support, on the very day when corrections have been revealed to be failing to comply with the reasonable requirements of the Ombudsman's Office. Perhaps senior staff management at corrections should have their salaries withheld until such time as they comply with the Ombudsman's requirement for them to report about the well-being of prisoners. I think there's an interesting differentiation being made here, and that point has been made, not least of all by our friend Mr Ball. If the intention of this bill is to gain compliance with people who are not complying, why limit it to beneficiaries? The government already has the power to withhold wages from people who fail to pay their tax, for example, or who fail to pay fines. If the intention is gaining compliance, why specify only beneficiaries? Is it about beating people when they're down? Is it about punishment, stigmatising those people? Why not? If the logic of this bill is to force compliance, why don't you go after wage earners as well? Explain to me the difference in the logic between that thing, if it's about compliance, not punishment. If you actually want to know how to improve compliance with with community sentences, take a leaf, look at our own experience. In Nelson, in April this year, the reporting point for people on community sentences was moved from Nelson to Richmond. They immediately got an increase in non-compliance because for some people that was a 20-kilometre journey. For people who don't have driver's licences, where there's very little public transport, and corrections ceased providing transport in a van for these people. That would be a really simple way to resolve that specific problem. Provide a van, pick these people up, get them to the point where they can then comply with their service. The corrections in Canterbury in November last year identified a serious problem with non-compliance. The compliance levels got so low, their solution was to fire some of the supervisors because they didn't need that many. What a perverse response that was. How about getting more supervisors, people who can monitor, inveigle, inspire, encourage, harass people to turn up on the day, to be on their case and make sure that they actually come along and fulfil their sentence requirements? Wouldn't that be an actual real solution rather than this phony attempt at a solution, this punitive, stigmatising solution provided in this legislation? In Tauranga in 2013, this problem was in evidence. They discovered a lot of the non-compliance was because people were choosing to go and do a day's seasonal work rather than go and do their community work obligation. So the rather enlightened response of the probation service in Tauranga was to accept that as a legitimate reason and to endeavour to get the community service so there was no conflict with these people's ability to go out and earn money, particularly in fruit harvesting, these sorts of things. So we do have a problem in New Zealand. The number of people who comply 100% with community work sentences is something as low as 36%. Many more do ultimately comply, but it is a low compliance rate. We do need to address the problem. This is absolutely not a solution. There are some sensible, well-founded solutions that mostly revolve around investing in people, treating them well, treating them sensibly. This is not a solution. We will not support it. Kia ora.
I call Mark Mitchell, 5 minutes in